Hi everyone, my name is Lucio, welcome in the workshop. In this video I want to show you how I painted the knight Incantor. Plus, I want to explain why I think isn't GW's fault. Fault about what? About this new mass production on different hobby merchandise. The base for his armor is done with a mix between the Fang, Nagaroth Knight and Black. I never used the Fang, so why not? Nowadays there are tons of new board games, literally thousands. Especially on the Kickstarter, everyone can create his own project. You can say, okay, but what's the problem? So far, none. Everyone is free to create everything you want, but I have to make some clarifications. First of all, the market is saturated, so the chance of a merge is pretty low. And second, companies tend to imitate GW's miniature for their games and conversions. The cloak will have a record flash base. The main problem, in my opinion, is the lack of originality in many products. I've seen tons of new companies make their products just like GW's copycats. I can use the Great and Clean one of Nurgle as example. How many of that are out there? Too many. And you can say, hey, some of them are better than the original. True, but they are still copies. The base for the other part of Cloak is done with Screamer Pink. It's called cause effect. Lot of new people in the business means lot of new production from GW. They're simply defending themselves. The more competitors, the more effort they will put in the business. For those crystals, I used the Amart Blue as base. All their new brands like Blood Bowl, Blackstone Fortress, Night Vault, Kill Team are all sons of this hobby's explosion. Explosions that often brings new companies, if not original, to fail. There's tons of companies that create new board games with miniatures as well. Everything looks cool, but then the most important thing is gone, an identity. Steel Legion Drab is the base for belt and gloves. For example, board games like Kingdom Death or companies like Raging Heroes are still kicking for this reason. They have their own identity. Now tell me, how many games you played once and then left taking dust? And how many games you bought but never had the chance to play with someone? Probably many. The crowdfunding system gives the opportunity to everyone, but not everyone are ready for being part of the hobby painting market. Base for all golden parts is Rhinox hide. My opinion, if entering this huge market, is to have GW as an example, but not as a goal, because they are in business since 80s, which means they know how to move in this big sea. You don't. Find your peculiar style, don't be greedy, and do not try to beat GW in his own combat field. If you have something more to say, I would love to discuss in the comment section. Now let's go back to the mini. I made almost the entire stuff golden, plus the armor's decoration. The undersuit is black, easy as that. Skin base done with Kislev flesh. I applied a tiny amount of white primer on his head and the covering changes a lot. I think I'll use only white in future for models full of bare skin. The inside of his mouth done with Screamer Pink and white scar for the teeth. Soldiers in battle can't suffer any tooth age, so better perfect teeth. Okay, this was a bad one. Last bases are Mephisto red for the staff and Scrag brown for the handle. Before starting with the highlight, I primed this energy ball in white. Where I got it? From a conversion piece in the old Herald of Siege I made some time ago. I just scratched his hand off and it's ready to be used. With this mini I wanted to raise my painting level, so I tried to make a simple pattern on his clothes. Used the base white color for the purple cloak and vice versa. At this stage I can still use the base color to make corrections, to make lines sharper. After setting the base pattern lines, we can start giving more depth. I begin with simple geometrical lines and forms to create something more complex. On his back I wanted more, so I made a lion head based on the one of his shoulder. Before you see it, I know it's not perfectly centered compared to the cloak's position, but I'm already satisfied, as a first try can't be that bad. For the cloak's border, I used a pale mix between Temple Guard Blue and Ashen Grey. Added grey in the mix to avoid an extreme contrast between blue and red tones. First shadow for the velvet cloak done with a mix of Screamer Pink and Ashen Grey. Last shadows done adding Nagaroth Knight in the mix and pure Nagaroth Knight for the very last shadows. Apply the deepest shadows next to the highlight spots to increase the velvet-like effect. We start highlighting, adding Evil Sun's Scarlet to the base color. A good way to blend colors can be by using just the tip of the brush with little dots. Keep highlighting, adding Emperor's Children in the previous mix. Of course, we apply the highlights on cloak's decoration as well. Highlights and shadows of the cloak's border are done by adding more or less grey in the mix. Shadows and highlights for the white part of the cloak aren't too extreme, in this case a mix between Rackard Flesh, Kislev Flesh and Ushabti Bone. Next highlight, substitute Ushabti Bone with the Screaming Skull. The deepest shadow, use a mix of base color and the Nagaroth Knight. I used this mix only for the lower parts of cloak, the parts not touched by light. Before starting highlighting the armor, I'm marking the point where the light will be. This will be useful for painting shadows next to them and beat the light using those white lines as final light spots. Anyway, I won't leave the white completely white, will be blended and glazed. First armor shadows are already dark, Naggaroth Knight and black. We're painting an armor, so I'll try to have a good contrast, especially if compared to the cloak one. In the spots next to the white lines we can go full black. For the first highlight we start from armor base color, but we change the ashen grey with downstone, plus we add some drops of flesh gits yellow. More downstone and more flesh gits yellow in the mix is the next highlight. Don't forget the lion face shoulder. The light will touch all the edges, especially his face's edges. Next highlight step done by simply removing the Naggaroth Knight in the mix. We're almost there. Next highlight is a mix between downstone and flesh gits yellow. Now we can begin to see the contrast, and we are working on very small spots. This highlight is applied only on the most exposed edges, like all the parts over the belt. I added white scar in the previous mix. Time to focus on the golden parts. We start with a mix of Balor brown and the base color. We cover entirely the brown except the deepest spots and the hidden face of the staff. You can start deciding where the light will be just using Balor brown. Next highlight, introduce Aerial Yellow in the mix. If you start like I did with a dark base, this highlight will require a lot of layers to have a good covering. Maybe next time I'll begin with a white base. We're going strong with the contrast, Flash Kits Yellow plus Aerial Yellow. I won't use the next and the last highlight on the covered edges. The last two highlights are the ones that gives the metal definition. White scar plus Flash Kits Yellow first and only white scar then. For the white I'll focus on little dots and on the raised hand tone. Now it's the turn of the gems. The first shadows, then adding Ashen Grey with the base color. The first highlight is Baharot Blue, a very nice color. Citadel maybe doesn't have the best colors, but have for sure the best colors variety. Second highlight is a mix between Fenrisian Grey and White Scar. The edges are done with White Scar. If you did some mistakes or just want to give more contrast like I did, you can apply another layer of the shadow mix we used before. Let's move to the gloves. Highlight done by adding Ushapti bone to the base color. In In the meanwhile, we apply 2 washes, Seraphim Sepia for the sword hilt and the Caraboom Crimson for the staff. The model is almost done. One of the last details we missed is his head. Isn't just a detail, but okay. Shadows done by adding scrag brown to the base color. The side of his face not hit by light received a second layer of shadows. On the other side, applied a mix between Ushabti bone and Kislev flesh. The bird's shadow done with a wash of Seraphim Sepia. The highlight of his bird have only one layer, Celestra Grey. Model is now complete at 90%. We just miss the staff highlight and the base. Highlight for the wooden part of his staff is a simple mix of Ushabti bone and the base color. Last part of his staff followed the same pattern of the cloak, purple for the shadows, in this case Druki Violet, and Emperor's Children for highlights. Before assembling, I think it's a good idea to see how I made the base with this yellow symbol that call in mind the Sigmar hammer. That's it for now. Sorry if this project took me so long, but I have less and less time with my new job. If you liked this content, subscribe, share, comment or just leave a like. And if you want to support my channel, check my Patreon page. See you in the next project.
Bye.